We are taking chapter number 3, ruling the countryside. Ruling the countryside. So we have matched the following. Rayat. This is Rayat, or you can say Rayat. So this will match with peasant. Mahal with the village. And then we have Nij with the cultivation on planters' own land, and royalty as cultivation on royals' land. Fill in the blanks. Growers of wood in Europe saw dash, Neil, or you can say indigo, as a crop which could provide competition to their earnings. The demand of indigo increased in late 18th century Britain because of industrialization. Then the international demand of indigo was affected by the discovery of synthetic dyes, and the Champaran movement was against the Bandobasti Kanun Vyavastha law. Describe the main features of the permanent settlement. So the main features of permanent settlements: first, the amount of revenue was fixed permanently. That means it was not to be increased ever in the future. And it was felt that this would ensure a regular flow of revenue into the company's coffers, and at the same time encourage the zamindars to invest in improving the land. And since the revenue demand of the state would not be increased, the zamindar would benefit from increased production from the land. And under this system, revenue had been fixed so high that zamindars found it difficult to pay. And even when the income of zamindars increased with the expansion of cultivation, the company had no chance of gain because it could not increase a revenue demand that had been fixed permanently. And the system proved oppressive for the cultivators. How was the Mahalwari system different from permanent settlement? So there are certain differences. First is, under this permanent settlement, the rates of revenue was fixed permanently. That means it was not to be increased ever in future. But in Mahalwari system, it was decided the rate of revenue would be revised periodically, and that means it is not permanently fixed. Also, under the permanent settlement, the zamindars were given the charge of collecting revenue from the peasants and paying it to the company. But in the Mahalwari system, this charge was given to the village headman. Given two problems which arose, or you have to give two problems which arose with the new Munro system of fixing revenue. So the two problems were: revenue officials fixed a very high revenue demand and peasants were unable to pay for it. And riots fled the countryside, and the villages, or you can say villagers, they just started running. So villages become deserted in many regions. Why were riots or riots reluctant to grow indigo, that is Neil? First of all, the planters usually force the riots to sign a contract. Those who signed the contract got cash advances from the planters at lower rates of interest to produce the indigo. But the loan committed the riot to cultivate indigo on at least 25% of the area under their holding. Now the planter provided the seed and the drill, while cultivators prepared the soil, sowed the seed, and looked after the crop. So when the crop was delivered to the planter after the harvest, the riots got another new loan. So in this way, they were trapped in the cycle of loan from which it was difficult to come out. And they realized soon that this was a harsh system. They did hard labor day and night, and got a very low price from the indigo they produced. And the other reason was that the planters usually pressurized the ryots to cultivate indigo meal on the best soils. But ryots preferred to grow rice on these soils. So indigo had deep roots and it would exhaust the soil fertility rapidly. And after an indigo harvest, the land could not be used for rice cultivation. What were these circumstances which led to the eventual collapse of indigo production in Bengal? The ryots in Bengal got fed up with the coercive methods or system the planters used with them and finally refused that they will not grow indigo. They became violent. They not only refused to pay rents to the planters but also attacked indigo factories armed with swords and spears, bows and arrows. Meanwhile, the local zamindars and village headmen also began to favor the indigo ryots. So they mobilized the indigo peasants and fought pitched battle with the lathials, that is the lathi wielding strong men maintained by the planters. In other places, even the zamindars went around villages urging the ryots to resist the planters. And worried by this rebellion, the government brought in the military to protect the planters from assault and set up the indigo mission to inquire into the system of indigo production. So the commission held the planters guilty and criticized them for the coercive method they used with indigo cultivators. So it declared that indigo production was not profitable at all for the ryots. So the commission asked the ryots to fulfill their existing contracts, but also told them that they can refuse any time to produce indigo in future. After this revolt, indigo production actually collapsed in Bengal. Find out more about Champaran movement and Mahatma Gandhi's role in it. So this we have already seen this. I just request you to get more information and write in your own words. Next is look into the history of either tea or coffee plantations in India. See how the life of workers in these plantations were similar to or different from the workers in indigo plantations. Again, I would request you to do it by yourself. There are a few more questions we need to talk about. Choose the correct option. 1/3 of the population was wiped out from Bengal because of the terrible famine occurred there. Then the Mahalwari system was devised by Holt Mackenzie. The ryots were cultivators actually. The Indigo Commission was set up to inquire into the system of indigo production. Whom did the commission hold guilty? The answer is the planter itself, right? Or what we can say, ryots, it will be the better answer. Then after the indigo production collapsed in Bengal, the planters shifted their operation to Bihar. Fill in the blanks. Indigo cultivation was done under the two main systems known as Nij and ryots. By the terms of permanent settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as Zamindars. Dash developed Royatwari system which gradually extended all over the South India. He was Thomas Munro. The indigo villages were usually around indigo factories owned by the planters. The planters at times pressurized the village headmen to sign the contract on behalf of the ryots. Now, true and false? Indigo could be cultivated only on fertile lands. This is true. Indigo was easily available in Europe? No. Thomas Munro was the governor of Bengal during 1819-26? No. The permanent settlement created many problems. This is true. The Bengal economy boomed after Company was appointed as Diwan of that province. This is also wrong. State whether each of the following statement is true or false. So, indigo could be cultivated only on fertile lands. The answer is true. Indigo, this we've already seen actually. So, we'll go with this question number 4 now. Match the following. So, jute with Bengal, and wheat with Punjab, rice with Madras or Chennai, sugar cane with United Provinces, actually it was Uttar Pradesh, and tea with Assam, and cotton with Maharashtra. These are very short question and answers. So, we'll be taking it in the next discussion. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.